guys, it's Virginia and welcome back to another Sunday video with me on 7 Days in the USA. So this week's theme is advice. So I am doing something kind of different but also will hopefully be helpful, and it is advice for AP European History students. Even though I look like I'm in 6th grade, I'm actually a junior in high school. I'm taking AP US History this year, but last year I took AP European History and I passed the national exam with a 3, which I passed, but I probably could have done better if I had better habits throughout the school year. So I just have some advice for students who are taking it this year, because AP European History is a really challenging course. I think at most places people who take it are seniors instead of sophomores. There's a millennium of history that you just need to cover and know what's happening, and there's 17 William and Marys. It's kind of crazy, but I'm here to help you with that. So let's get started. I have some advice written down here. I just hit myself in the head. Nice. So first and foremost, I know summer is pretty much over for everyone at this point, but if you have summer work, do it. My summer work was to read the first 2 chapters of the textbook, and I didn't do that until the last night, and I stayed up all night. I was doing it for over 12 hours straight. So do that. If you have summer work, do it before the last night. I also had cheer practice that first day of school, and I was running on no sleep, and it wasn't great. It's just important to do your summer work. The next thing is actually do your readings and your homework and stuff, because you see, I didn't really do this. I'm not a big fan of homework, so I didn't really do it as much as I should. I'm a lot better this year. I've been doing my homework, but last year I just didn't. I just wouldn't read, and I'd hope I'd be able to survive in class, which I mean I pretty much did. But when it came to the exam, I was I don't remember anything from this entire year. It's better to learn it when you can, because a week before the AP exam, you can't learn new things. You just can't teach yourself all that history in that amount of time, and you won't be motivated and you'll be stressed. And just learn when you're actually going over it, actually do your homework, because it also keeps your grade up in the class. My third tip is to take notes / recap notes. Writing stuff physically down helps you remember it. It's just a fact, and from personal experience I know, and there's just some things, especially if you have a photographic memory, that will help. I don't personally, but there's some things that I feel a lot of people sometimes when they're writing, they're ooh, that was a good G, that was a good word, complimenting their own handwriting. But if you're writing notes, and you have really nice War of Roses, you're gonna remember that, because you'll be oh, I remember, I had really nice handwriting here. When you're reviewing, I would go through and highlight the key things in your notes and then rewrite them into a recap note section, because you're rereading the knowledge, which is reiterating it into your brain, and then you're rewriting it. So you're rereading it, then you're having to read it to write it down, and then you're gonna read through that, and it's just gonna be a lot of repetition and a lot of emphasis on what you're rewriting. Especially is actually how my APUSH teacher this year saying how she would go through her notes and highlight it all and then rewrite it. In college she would do that, and she'd be out of the library at 10 p.m. the night before a big test, because that's just how she was able to study, and she would do really well on her tests. The fourth thing is all about the writing. So I don't know if the history you've taken before AP history, if you wrote many essays. Fortunately my school, there's no APs that freshmen can take, but we do have world history, and we do learn to write DBQs in world history, even though they're not real DBQs, but we're familiar with the setup and how you have to write essays. Anyways, hopefully you have some experience with DBQs and other historical essay writing stuff previous to this class. But if you don't, there are 3 kinds of writing things. So the first thing is the SAQs. That stands for short answer question. Usually it's a question, and then there's 3 parts to it, and then part A is give 1 political example, and then part B is give 1 social example, and part 3 is give 1 economic example, or maybe part A will be give 2 political examples, and part B will be give 1 social example. And because they're kind of so spelled out for you, give a political example, give a social example, they're tend to be kind of easier if you remember what it's about. So yeah, that's SAQs. Next is an LEQ, which is also called an FRQ. They're pretty much the same thing. That's long essay question or free response question, and they are basically just essays. You get a prompt and you have to write. It's all like self-generated, like you have to think of everything that you're writing about. You have to think of like specific examples. To be honest, I found that the LEQs kind of like the second easiest. There's like 3 kinds of writings and I kind of find it the second easiest. I don't really know why, because it's self-generated, but I feel like because you don't have to structure it around anything, which you have to do in the 3rd type of writing, which is also the most important, and that's a DBQ, and that stands for document-based question. Basically, you get an essay prompt and then you get 7 to 9 primary source documents, which means first-hand documents from whatever that question is about. Sometimes there's even 11 documents, and you have to analyze them and then write an essay, and your evidence for that essay are the documents, and you have to use them to support your argument. Other than SAQs, I think people probably think this is the easiest because you have stuff to support your argument. I'm just like personally not good at writing on the spot quickly, which is pretty much like all of high school writing, which is bad, but I mean I passed, so. But on DBQs there's like a point system. I think it's like out of 8 or 9 points, maybe 7, I'm not really sure, but points that you definitely want to have are context, which is like in your introduction it gives context of what is happening. So if your DBQ is on World War I, in the context you would put like how, I think it's the Black Hand like shot the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and like how that one person being shot snowballed into World War I. And then you would write your thesis, which is another 1 point. So you want to make sure you have those. Topic sentences are really good things. Make sure that you like use the documents, even if you don't analyze them correctly. Actually like using documents and citing them correctly gives you points. Also SFI, which in European history is like pretty hard because there's so many things that 1 point of SFI is like pretty good. If you know that you're having a DBQ in class and your teacher tells you what it's over, I would definitely go over that so that you have SFI fresh in your brain. On the national exam, you get 55 minutes, 15 minutes to analyze the documents and plan, and 40 minutes to write the essay. I think the DBQ is the heaviest part of the national exam. It might be the multiple choice, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I didn't really have good habits during the school year, and so my teacher was like, he could tell that I was, you know, not doing great, and he was like, really focus on the multiple choice and the DBQ, and I'll talk about the multiple choice later. He said like, focus on the DBQ, like if you need to, don't even do the LEQ and just do the DBQ, and that's actually what happened. I just did my complete DBQ and I didn't even get to my LEQ, but I still passed. It worked for me, so yeah. Number 5 is like tests throughout the school year and like multiple choice. So I don't know how exactly at your school they do tests. For me, we would have online tests, which were kind of like simpler problems. Some of them were prompt based, and then we would come in like the next day and we would have prompt based multiple choice test and like an essay or like SAQs to write. The only non-writing part of the national exam is the multiple choice part, and they are prompt-based multiple choices. So you will have a prompt, which will be like a paragraph. It could be a picture, it could be like a song or like a poem, a chant. After that, there's a few questions that pertain to that prompt. There could be anywhere from like 2 to 5 questions. The first few questions after the prompt, the answers are more based on the prompt, and then the second half of the questions after the prompt are more based on your knowledge. A way one of my teachers showed me how to answer well was to first read the question, then go and read the prompt, and pay really close attention to the dates, because dates can give away so much, because you can think what just happened, what is about to happen. That just pretty much helps with everything. Once you've read the prompt, read the answers and start from the bottom one and then go to the top, and if you read it and there's a possibility that it could be an answer, put a dot next to it, and if there isn't a possibility, just cross it out. And it's kind of like using a process of elimination, but more critical thinking. Okay, so the next thing is to create like a review document. I really should do this. You could do this 2 ways. You could do it all at the end of the year and just create a review document for the entire course, like right before the exam. That way you would be going back through all of your notes and like it would be fresh in your brain and you could review through that. Or you could start from the beginning of the year, after each unit, like take those recap notes and like type it in like a Google Doc that you can share with friends and stuff, and that they can add on to if they want. This way you just have kind of like a database or like review of just the entire year. Another thing is to watch documentaries. Like I actually kind of like watching documentaries. I mean, I don't watch them that much, but if there's one on TV, like I'll watch it. Or my dad really likes to watch documentaries because he's a history nerd, and sometimes I'll just go in and I'll sit down and watch them too. And there was one that mentioned the War of the Roses, and I was like, hey, that was an AP Euro. I don't remember anything about it, but I remember the name. If you're a visual learner or like even a hearing learner, that's a great way to remember things and a great way to get SFI. About the weighting of the national exam, I think it's the DBQ. It's either the multiple choice or the DBQ that is the heaviest weighted, and then I think the LEQ is 15% of the exam, and then it's the SAQs. I'm not really sure, but like the multiple choice and the DBQ are the main things that you want to focus on. Then the 8th tip is, if you did pull a me and you kind of screwed off the whole year, and at the end of the year before the exam you were like, I barely know anything, like there's no point in trying to relearn everything the night before the exam. Like you're just gonna get stressed, and you're already probably gonna be tired, and you're gonna be watching the Tom Ritchie AP Euro review the night before. Speaking of, Crash Course and Tom Ritchie are two really good like YouTube video sources and people to go to for YouTube videos and review. Those are just a few people that if you are like a very video oriented, or if it's like the night before a test, like watch one of the reviews on your phone like as you're falling asleep. But anyways, I kind of got off topic. Like you're not gonna be able to learn everything the night before the exam, and even if you are like pretty prepared, just like still you should go to bed and be well rested, because this is a 4-hour exam. We were taking the exam from 12 until 4, and just going on very little sleep isn't going to help you. Okay, this video turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it would be, but hopefully that means it was really helpful. Hopefully people actually even watch this. I honestly don't know who watched this because I hadn't even thought that these things existed. Maybe they don't, maybe I made it up. Anyways, if this was helpful or if you just enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel because people post like pretty much every day. You can subscribe to my channel. I've been posting like multiple times a week. I post beauty, fashion videos, starting to post like thrifting videos, so it's a lot of fun. We also have a sister channel you should subscribe to because it's from people all around the world instead of just in the United States. And if you have any theme ideas for us, click the first link in the description box. It's a Google form where you can submit themes for us so we do what you want to see. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye!